Let's talk about Hub or Kush for a minute here. And most of you with the Bird app up on Twitter have seen this. So Hub is one of the 50 humans on this earth that gets to vote for the NFL MVP award. He also is a writer for a Bears website, and he said on a talk show yesterday that he will not be voting for Aaron Rodgers for MVP because, quote, he's a bad guy, and he doesn't like the way that Aaron Rodgers carries himself. Now, you got to keep in mind, this is not First Take we're talking about here. This is not ESPN. This is not NFL Network. If you went on a show like that and said that, whatever. People say takes like this all the time for clicks, for media attention, all this stuff. This is so much bigger than that. This is the NFL MVP. This is the most prestigious award in the biggest sports league in the country. This has major gambling implications. Millions of dollars will change hands based on the results of a vote of 50 people, one of which is Hub or Kush. This has legacy implications, sponsorship, contract, meaning for these players, this is a huge deal, right? This is not something that you play around with, get emotional about, and have hot takes about. As a baseline to be an MVP voter, you should be able to look at this thing objectively. Now, it'd be nice as well if you knew what you were talking about. Hub also 2 years ago said that, sorry, Packers fans, Clinton Dix is just a better safety than Adrian Amos. He just is. No conversation about it. So we'll talk about in a minute if he actually knows what he's talking about sports-wise. But very clearly, this is acting childish as a Bears fan. And frankly, without getting too political here, it's been documented, or at least I've seen. Again, I haven't heard from the guy, but from what I've seen and heard from people that have actually listened to him, he's not afraid to describe himself as a left-wing person. And again, don't want to get political here, but we know this is about the vaccine and everything Aaron Rodgers said about the vaccine. And I don't want to get into it. I'm vaccinated myself. I disagree with pretty much everything Aaron Rodgers said. I think he's made some points about stuff that we can question, and we can all think level-headedly about that in our own right. But unfortunately, Hub is not thinking level-headed here because this is not about COVID. This is about the NFL season of 2021 and who is the MVP. Now, people are like, oh, if Henry Ruggs had 2,500 yards, I bet you'd vote for him. No, I wouldn't, because he should be out of the league, which he is. Aaron Rodgers didn't kill anybody. He's not, a sex offender. He has a stance on vaccines that most people should probably disagree with. But let's be honest here. To make ringing endorsements about his character over this thing, someone that Hub has never met personally, it's just ridiculous. Clearly, this guy is vindictive against the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and he can't look at this thing objectively, and it is currently hurting the legitimacy of the MVP award. And he's spitting on the trophy itself with these statements. Matt LaFleur was asked about it today, and he said the same thing. He was like, that person should lose his vote if that is how you vote about these things, because that's just ridiculous. And it is. So as a baseline to vote on this thing, you should be able to look at the NFL objectively. This guy is a Bears fan. He is vindictive against Aaron Rodgers, and there's politics entering the table here. Literal, like Washington, D.C., U.S. politics now being considered for the MVP vote. And that's not okay. This guy needs to lose his vote over this. Now, that's the baseline, right? You should be able to look at this thing objectively. His opinion on the matter is just weird. He said that his level of play is even with Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Taylor, and Tom Brady. And basically is a tiebreaker. In his opinion, Aaron Rodgers is a bad guy, so he's not going to vote for him. Which is just crazy process. The bad guy thing being a tiebreaker alone. Again, there's 50 people that vote on this thing. If those 50 people can't watch the game and discern who their vote goes for from a football perspective, that's ridiculous. But if this is a tiebreaker for him, I think you got to question his football acumen here. Aaron Rodgers is currently minus 525 odds to win the MVP. It's about an 80% agreement based on that number and what I've engaged with on social media, listening to people talk about it, analysts I respect. Rodgers has about an 80% market share on this MVP thing. He's only strengthened his case over the last couple of weeks. And, here's the way I look at it. If you want to vote for Jonathan Taylor, you want to be different and vote for a running back, I think that's wrong. I think it's fun to include him in the conversation, and maybe if Rodgers or Burrow didn't finish so strong down the stretch, maybe Jonathan Taylor could have made a case for it. That, even though it's like a running back in 2022, you're voting for the most valuable player in the NFL. It just can't be a running back if you're taking that word of value seriously. Cooper Kupp, great year. I don't even think he's the best receiver in the NFL this year. If you want to take anything from Aaron Rodgers, it's that he probably has the best receiver in the NFL in Devontae Adams. Cooper Kupp, volume-wise, yes, absolutely. Amazing numbers, but receivers just don't win the MVP, right? Even Julio Jones in 2016, in my mind, probably the most deserving receiver MVP season. He had 40% of Matt Ryan's passing yards that year, amazing plays, dominant performances, 300-yard receiving games. And Matt Ryan, we know, without Julio, probably not an MVP caliber player, right? If any receiver was ever gonna win MVP, it should have been Julio Jones back in 2016, I think it was. A receiver's never won MVP, so to consider him with Aaron Rodgers, Brady, Burrow, those guys, it's just kind of weird. And then he has him tied with Brady. Okay, sure. You want to vote for Tom Brady, who's 12th in yards per attempt, who for the majority of this season has had an offensive line that has had one starter miss one game, compared to Aaron Rodgers, whose offensive line has been makeshift week after week after week. He went the majority of the season with at least two of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, mostly all of them, 3 or 4 of them. An elite surrounding situation. Not to mention Rodgers on a efficiency basis. He is first in the NFL in a well-respected metric known as EPA, expected points added. It's a complex metric, but it basically means how many points are you contributing to your team per snap. And Aaron Rodgers shatters all the other quarterbacks. He's 5th in yards per attempt compared to Joe Burrow's 1st, Tom Brady's 12th. If he had the number of pass attempts that Tom Brady has, where he is way above anybody else in pass attempts, by the way. Tom Brady's a volume stats guy this year. 5,000, Aaron Rodgers would have 5,300 yards if he threw the ball as much as Tom Brady has. Brady doesn't even have 5,000. Rodgers is second in the NFL in the percentage of his throws that are considered by PFF as big-time throws compared to Tom Brady's 6th or Joe Burrow's 3rd. He is 3rd in the NFL in turnover-worthy plays. Granted, Brady just a touch above him 2nd and Burrow 6th. Those are the quarterbacks I'm mentioning because this is an MVP award and those are the guys you should be voting for. Those 3 quarterbacks right there. You look at the surrounding core, I think you can make a case, Joe Burrow, with his offensive line being as bad as it is, he might have a harder situation. But comparing Rodgers to Tom Brady, it's not even close. Rodgers, yes, has Devontae Adams, but he's throwing to Robert Tunyon's backup, Josiah DeGuara, who's a fullback at tight end. He's had MVS out most of the season, Randall Cobb out most of the season, Alan Lazard, who's played 2 good games this season and has been a replacement-level backup in the majority of the year. He's turned other random players into options for him. Not to mention the offensive line that has been completely makeshift all season long, whereas Brady gets to make a sandwich before he throws every pass. So it's not even close if you want to talk about surrounding core between Brady and Rodgers. Rodgers also has big moments, big wins, going on the road, beating an undefeated Cardinals team, comeback wins, you name it. Sure, Brady also has those as well, but in a league that has always considered team success for this award as well, I don't agree with it. I don't think we should look at team wins, but historically they have. Rodgers has clinched the 1 seed before the season's even over. His team has more wins than the Bucs. He's added more win value based off of that calculation. So to say it's tied between Rodgers, Brady, Kupp, and Jonathan Taylor to be one of 50 MVP voters and a football analyst that is supposed to be a respected mind that can break this thing down and make a decision that's not that difficult, I would respect him more if he just said, I think Brady has had a better season. You could pull certain metrics that says he has. I'd respect him more if he just said that. But to say, it's a tie, but because I think Rodgers is a bad guy, I'm going to take the cop out and not vote for him. That disqualifies him from being able to vote for this award. And I'm not trying to cancel the guy or whatever. I think he's probably a really good writer. He obviously is. If he is one of the 50 guys with votes, he probably, for the most part, knows what he's talking about, though it seems to me he has a pretty clear bias against Green Bay based on this and his Clinton Dix comment that has surfaced from a couple years ago. But I hope he has a great career and continues to have a great career. But he should not be voting for the MVP if this is his thought process. He should probably be on First Take if this is his thought process. So that's enough time. He needs to lose his vote. I'm curious if you guys agree with what I've said there. It's just childish behavior. It's not something that belongs in the elite of the elites. This is supposed to be a prestigious, well-respected award, and Hub Arkush just hucked a loogie and spit on the integrity of this award. So he has got to go. Replace him with someone that can look at this thing objectively and give a real valuable vote to the most valuable player award in the NFL.